Have you ever noticed how easy communication is in this age, where we can send messages with a single button? Of course, there was a time when sending a message was equivalent to a week-long journey. In those years, no one was checking the read receipt because it was unknown whether the letter even reached its destination, and those letters shook important things in the world. Here is our first profession, messenger. Thousands of years ago, there wasn't email, but rather horsemail system, so to speak. The couriers of the Persian Empire never left the top in this business. They ensured the transmission of orders and messages by changing horses at relay points along the empire's 1,700-mile royal road. They could reduce the delivery time of an order from 90 days to as short as 7 days. So you can think of it like the 5G internet of its era, and they operated this system so successfully, so uninterruptedly, that even Herodotus said, "Neither snow nor rain nor heat nor gloom of night stays these couriers from the swift completion of their appointed rounds." Today, the phrase "wandering like a postman" is a term these men left behind for us. But those men were lucky because they had horses. What if you didn't have a horse, though? No problem at all. The Incas left this job to their leg muscles. In the 1500s, in the high mountains of South America, the Incas' chasqui runners performed very important duties. Imagine a universe without cars, trains, or horses, a universe with only slender, muscular legs and steep slopes. The most important difference about these runners was this: they didn't carry the message with them. They had no paper. Instead, they had very good minds. They memorized. Why? Because there was no writing in the Inca language. They only had numerical reminders made of knotted cords called quipu. So, these men, as you can understand, were memory cards that could run. There was a relay station every few kilometers. The system worked like this. The runner would stop at the relay point, breathless, recite the message, and another runner would continue the journey. They continued, complementing each other like gears, until the king's order reached the end of the Andes Mountains. Imagine endless stone paths. You're at 10,000 feet altitude, you have no oxygen supply, and what if someone memorized the message incorrectly? In short, Alex said, "Stupid, the king is angry." Alex: "What did I do?" Communication errors can happen in the mountains, of course. But remember, the first rule in that era was, you absolutely cannot strike the messenger. We are now in 17th century England. You're unemployed, poor, and of course, ostracized. But I think there's a good profession. Sin eater. Yes, you literally eat other people's sins and make a profession out of it. Did someone die in the village? Their family calls you. You come, knock on the door, enter, and on the table, they set aside a dead person whose sins you will gobble up, a piece of bread on their chest, and a mug of warm beer next to it for you. Here you go, eat it up, and they'll fly up to heaven too. Yes, that was the ritual. The bread absorbs the sins of the dead, then you swallow it. What happens to you then? You live, turning into the village's sin dump. The price? 3 pence. And the promotion is nausea. Of course, this act was symbolic, but the people genuinely believed that you ate those sins. So you were taking in a little more sin calories at each ceremony. Over time, people decided to see you not as a sin absorber, but as a curse spreader. You were ostracized, you lived alone. Even the dead were at peace, but you weren't. Their atonement had become your depression. This profession continued until the early 20th century. The last official sin eater was Richard Munslow, who died in 1906. The man did the job for the peace of his deceased children's souls, but how much you believe that is up to you. There's free beer. Who would say no to that? Naval battles between the 17th and 19th centuries were quite literally metallic chaos. Ships were ablaze with cannon fire, wood, ropes, and people were flying everywhere. If there was anything as important as the cannonball, it was gunpowder. But while adults were fighting in their positions, who would carry this gunpowder? Solved? Of course, children would do it. These tiny crews, called powder monkeys, were generally orphaned children aged 10 to 14. So it wasn't an army camp. It was a beating-filled orphanage. Their duty was quite simple. Grab a sack of gunpowder from the ship's hold and run. Deliver it to the man next to the cannon as fast as possible. Simple. But with every step, you're face to face with death. One spark is enough. You'll be torn to pieces. One wrong maneuver, and you'll end up at the bottom of the ocean with the ship. Yet, they were the secret backbone of the war. Small, fast, and very flexible, and indispensable for continuing the war. If you survived, all the better. You'd become a full-fledged sailor and get your pay. Of course, you shouldn't overlook the possibility of turning into a hulking machine, forgetting you're an adult from seeing war every day since childhood. Think about it. You can't wake today's children for school. Those children started their day among cannon fragments. It really makes you think. Now let's throw reputation into a trash can. You have an illness in the Middle Ages, and you went to a doctor. Do you know what the doctor did? Did he check your pulse? No. He looked at your urine. More than just looking, he smelled it, mixed it, sometimes tasted it. Yes. If your urine tastes sweet, you have diabetes. If it's black, prepare the cottons. This practice was called uroscopy. It began thousands of years ago and officially became a profession in the Middle Ages. According to the theory of that era, the human body consisted of 4 fluids: blood, phlegm, black bile, and yellow bile. All had to remain in balance. Otherwise, the color of your pee would be your messenger. The doctor would examine the patient as follows. Pale yellow. Well, the spleens are out of order. Greenish? Jaundice? Dark red. The livers will come to the table as dinner tonight. Black, my friend. What's your last prayer? They even produced their own color scales, a kind of hair dye catalogue, but the samples were made of urine. Some went so far as to test it with their tongue, which was truly disgusting. Sweet meant diabetes, sour meant infection. So we can liken them to a medical Sherlock Holmes, but quite nauseating. However, some of their diagnoses were reliable. Of course, we have endless respect for the people who laid the foundations of modern medicine. Although they were average in diagnosis, it was impossible for you to recover because their understanding of treatment had not developed. Let's say your doctor told you, yes, your pee is sweet, you have diabetes. He would add, no cure, but a strange taste. Science was advancing, yes, but the digestive system was collapsing. In the 1700s, the rich in England started to get bored. The rich are generally bored. They were so rich that even having fun was tiring and troublesome. Hunting, balls, horse racing, gossip, everything was quite tiring and boring. As time went on, fashion changed. They turned the gardens of their vast estates into natural-looking English landscapes. Trees, lakes, stones, and, of course, silence. But some thought something was missing when they looked at their gardens. What could it be? Oh, right, no people. And the solution came immediately. A living ornament. I kid you not, they actually started hiring a garden hermit. The conditions were quite funny. For 7 years, you would not cut your hair, touch modern objects or speak. You would live alone, being an exotic sight for guests. Look closely, dear guests. A human at one with nature. How natural, isn't it? The man hadn't bathed in years. More natural than nature itself. The pay, even considering today's money as an annual salary, was very, very little. But some hermits actually loved doing this job. Some were silent background figures, others became philosophers for the visiting guests, so they were a work of art, but a living one. The fashion lasted until the 1830s. Then it gave way to stone statues, leaving real people unemployed. Throughout history, the purpose of everything people did was money. They ran, absorbed sins, carried gunpowder, tasted urine, and even became garden accessories. All of them were logical and necessary according to their era. It may seem absurd today, but a few centuries later they will say, he was a TikTok editor. Wow, what a ridiculous profession. Time moves on, but what humans will do for money does not change.